Gracias y buenos días a
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning to all of you. Well, first of all, I'd like to start this meeting with congratulations Antonio José Seguro for his victory at the elections in Portugal. Overwhelming victory. That is a victory for democracy and for the Portuguese electorate. I think a clear message was sent out to all of us, to all politicians, about the importance of voting for people committed to democracy, with human rights, with freedom, and with Europe. I'm sure that he is familiar with this House. He was a member of the European Parliament, and he's a person very much pro-European attitude, and I'm sure that is going to be a clear symbol of his identity during his leadership in Portugal. So I'd like to start with this congratulations to José Antonio Seguro. And this brings us to this week's agenda. There are two subjects that are to be seen as a priority, which that issue is very important. The first one related to competitiveness, and the second issue related to immigration. Now, the next Thursday's meeting of European leaders, I'd like to say that competitiveness is more than just getting rid of red tape. Some people have seemed to focus on that alone. Those who seem to feel that the only solution to Europe being more competitive is to get rid of the red tape and to simplify, of course. From our point of view, I think you've heard me say this very often. We believe that obviously we need to simplify. We need to get rid of red tape. That is certainly an important task that needs to be carried out. But if there's anyone who feels that the only problem in Europe, for Europe to be competitive, is to get rid of our red tape, well, I think you're wrong. We believe that we know exactly where we need to go. We need to invest, we need innovation, and we need strategic autonomy. And we're not the only ones saying this. The Socialist group Draghi has said this. Letta, in their different reports on competitiveness, have talked about this related to the European single market. So we've got very clear requests here to make sure that competitiveness isn't driving force for change. More investments through savings and also green transition and decarbonization. If you believe that the future of Europe and the competitiveness of Europe is based on fossil fuels, well, I think you haven't really understood today's world, and somehow you don't understand how we need to progress, and social strengthening to protect the welfare state and the European social model. Because for us, competitiveness is not simply a purpose in itself. It's the path that we need to take to make sure that citizens have better quality of life. So when the European People's Party says that competitiveness is to be seen as an element to improve the situation of companies, I think they're wrong. I think they're taking the wrong path, because we need to improve the situation of European companies, no doubt. But the purpose for this is for this to be better and to improve social well-being, and that the people of Europe can live in an area in which it has been living over the last few years, where you combine economic growth with social development. That is the European social model. That is what makes us unique, and that is what we need to protect. and defend. That is what we need to strengthen. That is why we talk about defending Europe. So let's hope that there is courage and true political will by the prime ministers to find specific solutions that face up to the challenge. And tomorrow we will have a debate on this. And as a political group, we will put forward our views. And then another important issue this week is the discussion on immigration. There are two debates in this House which are clearly determinant here. First of all, the Schengen area and the entry in Spain, particularly for migrants. This was supported by the Socialists to have this debate because we do want to have this debate in this House. We need to look at the two models that exist at the moment in Europe in the area of immigration. So we are very much in favor of having this debate in the European Parliament. And then the other discussion is the situation in the state violence in Minneapolis and the rule of law in the United States. This was a topical debate, and it was our group to put forward a subject. And what is a bit of a paradox is that the situation that you have seen in Minneapolis and the situation of ICE, this patriotic police, if you want to call it something, in the United States, and that this has to be put on the agenda in the topical debate because there was no majority for it to be put on the agenda in a general debate. And EPP was against having this debate because all of Europe, people in Europe are scandalized by what is happening in the United States, in Minneapolis. That is what is going on, supported by Trump, and that this could not be discussed in this House when the people, European citizens, talk about this, when the press talks about this, and when this debate is very much at the forefront of our discussions in Europe. We couldn't have a general debate on this because the EPP was against this. Well, obviously, we realized that the topical debate would have to be held because we knew that silence and that standing back and crossing our arms cannot be our attitude as to what is happening in the United States. So it's extremely important to have debates to look at these two models, because there is one model based on solidarity, the human approach to immigration, which recognizes regularizing immigrants. We talk here about rights and duties. And nationals from third countries can then legally work in Europe. And I say legally because a lot of them are already working. Many of them have jobs. So what we need to do is to make sure that they can do this legally so that they can pay their taxes and can fully contribute to our society. And then at the same time, they need to be able to enjoy all the rights in order to prosper. So orderly immigration, efficient immigration is something that we need to tackle because of our demographic problems. I know there's a lot of fear, and it is easy to blame the weakest for problems. It's easy to say that those people who have problems, well, all those problems are caused by others who have even less. That is the strategy of the right, and that is also the strategy of the European People's Party. So it is an important debate to hold, and it is important to look at the two models. Lastly, today we shall be voting on the bilateral safeguard clause this is in the agreement, the Mercosur-European Union agreement, and I know that farmers, European farmers, are very concerned about the effects of the Mercosur agreement. But when we spoke in favor of the Mercosur agreement at the time, we knew that there was going to be an instrument to protect European farmers. So I believe that it's extremely important. It is absolutely indispensable for today we approve this regulation, and I have no doubt at all that there will be a majority in this House to be able to approve this regulation to protect the farming sector and to safeguard the farming sector. And I think this is also a way to tackle the disinformation, the negative effects of Mercosur in the farming sector, when the reality is, when the truth is that we have an instrument with safeguards. So there will be an emergency break if there's a drop in price, and which will also be looking at those questions related to schedules and quotas, which are there to protect our farmers, also to strengthen controls at the borders. And to conclude with Ukraine, our political group is fully committed to Ukraine, and we've been very much at the forefront here in order to get an urgency procedure in the area of the loan to Ukraine, which I think is going to be voted tomorrow. This is an initiative that will be voted in the House tomorrow with the support of EPP and Renew, so that we can proceed with this urgently. This, again, is a signal when there are clear elements to support urgency procedures. We support them. But what we can't do is possibly to start approving issues which need to be debated at more length. Anyway, I'm at your disposal for any questions.
We start in the back and then we move down. Yes, please.
En français.
I will speak French. Madam, this afternoon we'll be talking about the situation in Rojava, in the south and northeast of Syria. I would like to ask you what your position is at a time where Kurdish regions are encircled and under embargo. We know that the position of al-Shara, Erdogan and Trump is. What we don't know, however, what the position is within your group and the European Parliament. We all know that the European Union has been following the same policy of rolling out the red carpet for al-Shara. It's very important to protect the population. What's your position regarding the region and the groups who defend the same values as you? We defend the values of the rule of law, international law, and the resolution of conflicts via international law. And as far as specific questions are concerned, we are currently discussing those matters in the working group to establish a group position.
Hi, Simone Martuscelli from Italian news agency AGI. Question on the two regulations on safe countries and safe third countries and safe countries of origin. There's also votes today in plenary. Since you mentioned migration as an important topic, do you think that the S&D group will be united in voting against the regulations, or you see some delegations voting differently? Thank you.
Una gran unidad.
Unity. It doesn't mean total unity. I'm sure there'll be some votes against, but there is no real debate about this. An overwhelming majority of members of our group have a clear position on this, and we did make this clear during the first reading in the Parliament when we first established the Parliament's position. Obviously, our position has not changed during the course of the trilogues. So the proposal being put forward is something we can't support, so we'll be voting against that. I will also continue to focus on an argument which is difficult to counter, that's to say the whole question of two yardsticks. So we have countries which apparently are safe for migrants, but which aren't safe for Europeans. Back in December, we awarded the Sakharov Prize to activists who, in Georgia, who were defending liberty, freedom, democracy in their country. So the fact is, apparently, according to that debate, those freedoms aren't guaranteed in Georgia, whereas these proposals in safe countries seem to suggest they are safe, for migrants at least. So why for migrants but not for Europeans?
Okay, I'm from Erem. I'm Erem from Kurdish media, basically. I will try my best to be to the point and a specific question. As you remember, while the attacks continue to the Aleppo, during that days, there has been a visit from the EU representatives to the Damascus, and there has been a 620 million support agreement with the ex-Al-Qaeda member who is now a president of the Syria. So my question is about at that time when the Kurdish city of Kobane is under siege by the Syrian army, do you truly believe that such a large budget will be used to build the democracy in the region? Thank you.
Thank you. I want to insist around our world there are a lot of conflicts. Unfortunately, we have to lead as Europeans the defense for the rule of law, for the international rule of law, for the multilateralism, and this is our request. We want to ask the European Commission and the High Representative to act firmly to defend the human rights and to defend the freedom. It's necessary to do it with our tools. The diplomacy is an important tool, and at the same time to defend very firm our common values as solidarity, justice and human rights.
Thanks a lot. Max, please.
Hi, Max Giria for Politico. 10 hours ago, the State Department of the US announced that Marco Rubio will visit Orban and Fico right after his visit to the Munich Security Conference. Could you comment on what this means regarding US-EU relations, the fact that Rubio is visiting exactly these two countries, especially ahead of an election where Orban could be defeated? Are they endorsing Orban, meddling with internal elections, and so on? And related to this, there's a shadows meeting on the US deal tonight. S&D, I understand that has a very strong position regarding suspension clauses and having an early sunset clause. Is there space for maneuver? Is there space for compromise tonight to come closer to EPP's position, which is more reticent to having these such strong provisions? What could a compromise look like? Thank you.
Gracias, Max. Con respecto a...
Thank you, Max. As far as the prospective visit from Rubio to Orban is concerned, let's be honest, we're not surprised. The S&D group has made it clear on many occasions in the past that there is an international far-right alliance. It has various different faces. And this ultra-right-wing alliance at the international level comprises Trump and his acolytes, his colleagues. It also comprises Milei in Argentina, Abascal in Spain, and Orban in Hungary. These are the same people. They have the same strategies. And what's paradoxical in this situation is that people who've come out with very clear national strategies, I'm talking about the United States and the MAGA movement, They've made it clear in their national strategy they want to support their allies in Europe, the patriots, and they see themselves as in opposition to traditional pro-European forces. So nobody will be surprised by that. And this is the problem, nobody's surprised anymore. The fact that the American administration has made no bones whatsoever about those forces it intends to support in Europe. On the trade agreement with the US and the negotiations, which, as you said, will continue this afternoon, we've made it clear that we will be insisting on a series of conditions. Obviously, we believe in the need to reach agreements. We are working in that direction. It's important. However, the agreement has to be based on trade and mutual concessions. The idea of automatic suspension in case the United States administration were to act against the principles of the agreement is something which is of fundamental importance, an automatic suspension clause. In the same way, it's of fundamental importance to ensure that the 400 or the list of 400 derivative products containing aluminium have to be revised once the agreement has been signed. We can't accept the agreement under its present form. This means we have to continue negotiating. And we'll be setting out our conditions. So as to, can we reach an agreement? Yes. Should this agreement come at any price? No. We're in a position to reach an agreement if the conditions which we've set out in the negotiations are respected. And if more time is needed, so be it. So what we hope to achieve in today's meeting is that either we comply with those conditions or we will simply not accept the agreement under its present form. We can't accept that without those questions being addressed.
Take any more questions? The time is over because the next group is in front of the door. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Iratxe, and have a very good week.
Channel 2 English